This is just a little video I made, a few clips of the Apollo 11 press conference. There's a link to the original video in the description.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Manned Spacecraft Center. This is the Apollo 11 press conference. The format today will consist of a 45-minute presentation by the Apollo 11 crew, followed by question and answers. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Apollo 11 crew, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin. Neil?
It was our pleasure to have participated in one great adventure. It's an adventure that took place not just in the month of July, but rather one that took place in the last decade.
It looks to me like his reaction there, he's about to talk about something he really doesn't want to.
We all here and the people listening in today had the opportunity to share that adventure over its developing and unfolding in the past months and years. It's our privilege today to share with you some of the details of that final month of July that was certainly the highlight for the three of us of that decade. We're going to divert a little bit from the format of past press conferences. And
That's always a good sign that something's wrong, when they decide to do things differently.
talk about the things that interested us most, in particular the things that occurred on and about the moon. We will use a number of films and slides which most of you have already seen, and with the intent of pointing out some of the things that we observed on the spot, which may not be obvious to those of you who are looking at them here from the surface of Earth.
Once again, it looks like he's upset about what he's talking about.
The flight, as you know, started promptly. And I think that was characteristic of all the events of the flight. The Saturn gave us one magnificent ride, both into Earth orbit and on a trajectory to the moon. Our memory of that actually differs little.
See the way he said that right there? He's lying against his will.
Also made use of the stars through the telescope and aligning a crosshair by rotating the field of view until the crosshair superimposed on the star. This would give us the angular measurement of the star within the field of view of the telescope. We then determine the distance out by aligning another reticle spiral.
Neil has that look like, how is Buzz so comfortable with all this?
On this, we went through an averaging technique on board and then fed this information into the computer, and this came up with our various alignment checks. This was all in preparation for a possible liftoff that would occur about 2 hours after touchdown as Mike and Columbia came over for the first revolution. The ground network gave us a stay, and we continued briefly through the remainder of this checklist in our simulated countdown. And at this point, we terminated and powered down many systems on board the spacecraft and went into an eat period.
Prior to depressurizing the lunar module. It took longer to depressurize the lunar module than we had anticipated, and it also took longer to get the cooling units in our backpacks operating than we had expected. In sum and substance, it took us approximately an hour longer to get ready than we had predicted.
They must have hit a sensitive topic at that point.
When we actually descended the ladder, it was found to be very much like the lunar gravity simulations we had performed here on Earth. And no difficulty was encountered in descending the ladder. The last step was about 3.5 feet from the surface, and we're somewhat concerned that we might have difficulty in re-entering the limb at the end of our activity period. So we practiced that before doing the exercise.
So Neil Armstrong is basically talking about how they're going to return and the difficulty to what might be in their way for returning. You look at Michael's reaction. I recommend watching the movie Capricorn 1.
Of bringing the camera down, this was the first of a number of times when we found two men were a great help. I quickly put up the TV camera. And then, more leisurely, Buzz and I joined together to erect the American flag.
Would the crew consider a moon mission of a similar nature again, or would you prefer to have some other kind of a mission? And secondly, I think this question was asked, but I didn't get the complete answer. How do you propose to restore some normalcy to your private lives in the years ahead?
I wish I knew the answer to the latter part of your question.
Kind of depends on you.
I got nothing against these three men right here. It's just, like I said, you got to watch the movie Capricorn 1. You'll get an understanding that when they went to the moon, they didn't go on their own dollar. They went on somebody else's dollar. Okay, so whoever owns those rockets and all this and that, they're the ones that decide what gets shown.